Alien therapists use human reunion videos to treat species suffering from isolation. Part 1. Doctor pressed her three-fingered hand against the cold observation window and watched her patient stare at nothing. The merchant had not spoken in 47 days. His scaled body remained curled in the same position, breathing slowly, eyes open but seeing nothing. She had tried every treatment protocol in the Galactic Medical Database. Nothing worked. The problem was everywhere. Across 17 star systems, thousands of beings suffered from what the medical community called separation atrophy syndrome. It started 20 years ago when faster-than-light travel became common. Families scattered across the stars. Parents took jobs on distant colonies. Children grew up light years from their birth worlds. The species of the galaxy had never evolved to handle such distances. Being away from their spawn clutch for more than 2 cycles caused severe neural decay. The Sown species experienced something worse. Their sense of identity was tied to family proximity. Too much distance and they simply forgot who they were. The Moth-class navigators spent decades alone in deep space and returned home unable to feel anything at all. Some just stopped eating. Others walked into airlocks, left the observation room and returned to her office. Another failed day. Another patient she could not help. She had studied psychology for 30 years, earned the highest honors from the Galactic Academy, and published research that changed treatment protocols across known space. None of it mattered now. The galaxy was breaking its people, and she had no answers. Her assistant, a young named Praxis, knocked on her door frame. He held a data tablet and looked uncertain. "What is it?" asked. "I was running the cultural analysis algorithm you requested," Praxis said, "looking for species that handle long separations better than others. The results are strange." "Strange how?" "Well, one species shows almost no incidence of separation atrophy syndrome. Humans." Felt her head crest flatten in surprise. Humans were relatively new to galactic society. They had only made first contact 15 years ago. She had met a few strange beings. They smiled at everyone, even strangers. They formed friendships with species they had just met. They adopted alien pets. "That cannot be correct," said. "Humans have been traveling to distant colonies since before they achieved faster-than-light capability. They sent generation ships, missions that took decades. Surely they suffered psychological damage." "The data says otherwise," Praxis replied. "I thought maybe there was an error, so I accessed human cultural archives. I found something interesting. May I show you?" Praxis activated the wall display. A video began playing. It showed a human dwelling. 2 small human children sat in a room with chairs arranged in rows. Other humans surrounded them. Then a human male in military uniform walked through a door. The children looked up. Their faces transformed. They screamed and ran toward him. The male knelt down and the children crashed into his arms. All 3 began leaking water from their eyes. Had studied human biology. She knew about crying, but she had never seen it like this. The raw emotion on their faces struck something deep in her chest. "What is this?" she asked. "Humans call it a reunion video," Praxis said. "They made thousands of them. Millions, actually. This one is labeled 'Soldier Surprises Kids at School.'" The human male had been away for 1 cycle. "1 cycle," stood up. "That is nothing. The merchant has been separated from his clutch for 7 cycles." "I know," Praxis said quietly, "but watch what happens." He played more videos. A human female arriving at a transportation hub. An older human male walking through a door. The same pattern every time. The separated humans would see each other and something would break open inside them. They would run, embrace, collapse together and cry. The joy on their faces was so intense it seemed painful. One video showed a human male in uniform walking into a dwelling. A large 4-legged creature ran toward him, spinning in circles, making loud noises. The male knelt down and the creature climbed all over him, licking his face. The male cried just as hard as the humans in the other videos. They bond this strongly with other species too? Asked. Apparently. Watched video after video. Humans reuniting after 1 cycle, 2 cycles, 5 cycles. Some had been separated for 10 cycles or more. It did not matter. The intensity of the reunion seemed unconnected to the length of separation. They all showed the same explosive joy, the same desperate embraces, the same tears. This is remarkable, said. How do they maintain emotional bonds across such distances? Praxis pulled up more data. I found research from human psychologists. They have something they call anticipation. When separated, humans count down the days until reunion. They mark calendars. They send messages across space even when the delay is months. They keep objects that remind them of loved ones. Clothing, photographs, tokens. They do not just endure separation. They actively maintain the connection. Sat down slowly. Her mind raced through the implications. Every other species experienced separation as a severing. The bond broke and the being deteriorated. But humans seemed to experience separation differently. They stretched the bond but never let it snap. They held on across impossible distances and waited. Pull up the psychological profiles of my current patients, said. Praxis brought up the data. 23 beings across 6 species, all suffering from advanced separation atrophy syndrome, all unresponsive to traditional treatment. What are you thinking? Praxis asked. I want to try something experimental, said. These humans somehow evolved the ability to handle what destroys other species. What if we could show my patients that survival is possible, that joy after separation exists? You want to show them the videos. I want to see if hope can be taught. 3 days later, sat beside the merchant. She had set up a small display screen. The merchant still had not spoken, but his eyes tracked movement. Some awareness remained. I want to show you something, said gently. These are humans, they are like us. They separate from their families, but they survive. Watch. She played a video of a human father surprising his daughter at her educational facility. The young human female screamed and ran to him. She jumped and he caught her and spun her around. Both cried. Other humans in the room cried too. The merchant's eyes focused on the screen. Played another video, and another. She watched her patient carefully. For the first time in 47 days, his body shifted. His head turned toward the screen. They feel it too, said softly. The pain of separation, but they do not let it destroy them. They wait, they hope, they count the days, and then they come home. The merchant made a sound, small, barely audible, but it was the first sound he had made since entering catatonia. Played more videos. Humans reuniting at transportation hubs, soldiers coming home, parents holding children they had not seen in cycles. The merchant watched them all. After 2 hours, he spoke. His voice was weak and rough from disuse. Play again. Felt her head crest rise in surprise and hope. She played the videos again. The next day, she brought the Moth-class navigator to the same room. The navigator had been suffering from complete emotional shutdown. She could not feel joy or pain or anything at all. Showed her the videos. The navigator watched in silence. Then she asked to play a specific one again, the one with the human male and the 4-legged creature. That one, the navigator said, the one where the human returns and the animal remembers him. How long was he gone? 4 cycles, said. 4 cycles and the animal still remembered, still loved him. The navigator's voice broke. I have been gone for decades. I thought everything would be dead, that no one would remember. These humans travel for decades too, said. They send generation ships that take multiple lifetimes, yet their descendants still maintain the connections. They still come home. The navigator watched the videos for hours. Before she left, she asked for copies. She wanted to watch them alone. By the end of the week, both patients showed improvement. The merchant began speaking in complete sentences. The navigator started eating again. It was not a cure, but it was progress, more than had achieved in months of traditional treatment. She filed a report with the Galactic Psychological Association. The response came quickly. The committee wanted to see her immediately. They had questions about her methods. They had concerns about using human emotional experiences as therapy for other species. Prepared her data and boarded a transport to the Central Medical Station. She brought copies of the reunion videos. As she traveled through space, she watched them again. Every time, she felt something stir in her chest, something that felt dangerously close to hope. Part 2. The conference room on Medical Station 7 held representatives from 12 species. Doctor stood at the front, her presentation displayed on the wall behind her. Most of the committee members looked skeptical. Some looked hostile. "You are showing alien entertainment to critically ill patients," said Doctor, an administrator with gray scales and cold eyes. "This is not medicine. This is desperation." "My patients are improving," replied. The merchant is speaking again. "The Moth Navigator has regained emotional response. 2 others have requested transfer to my facility for the same treatment." "Correlation is not causation," said. "Perhaps they simply recovered naturally." 47 days of catatonia does not end naturally, shot back. And all 4 patients showed improvement within hours of viewing the human reunion videos. The pattern is clear. A doctor named leaned forward. "I read your report with interest, but I do not understand the mechanism. How does watching strangers reunite help beings suffering from their own separation?" Had been thinking about this question for days. Humans possess something unique. They evolved as nomadic persistence hunters on there. They traveled vast distances but always returned to their tribe. Over millions of years, they developed psychological mechanisms to maintain bonds across space and time. They do not experience separation as a severing. They experience it as a temporary stretching. She played a video on the wall display. A human soldier appeared on a screen, speaking to his family from across space. The transmission delay was obvious. He said something. 30 seconds later, his family responded. They continued this way for minutes, speaking and waiting, maintaining conversation across light years. "They endure communication delays that would drive most species insane," continued. "They send messages that take months to arrive. They keep photographs of loved ones and talk to them as if they were present. They count days. They mark calendars. They maintain hope through practices most species would consider irrational." "This is fascinating anthropology," said. "But how does it treat our patients?" "Because it shows them that survival is possible," said. "Every other species experiences separation as death. The bond breaks and we deteriorate. But these videos prove that bonds can stretch without breaking. That joy exists on the other side of separation. My patients watch humans wait for cycles and then explode with happiness when reunited. It gives them a template, a model for hope." "You are teaching alien psychology to non-human species," said. "What if this creates false expectations? What if your patients believe they can endure like humans but cannot?" "Then they are no worse off than before treatment," replied. "Traditional protocols have failed. My patients were dying. Now they are improving. I am requesting permission to expand the program." The committee argued for 2 hours. Finally, they voted, received conditional authorization to treat 10 additional patients across 3 facilities. The program would be closely monitored. Any sign of harm and it would be immediately shut down. Returned to her facility exhausted but determined. Praxis had news waiting. 17 new patients have requested transfer for your treatment," he said. "Word is spreading. We only have authorization for 10. "I know, but the others are desperate. Traditional treatment is not working. They heard that you showed videos and patients improved. They want hope." Selected the 10 most critical cases. An educator who had not seen her family pod in 12 cycles. A father whose spawn clutch had moved to a distant colony. a young who had forgotten her own name after separation from her birth cluster, 8 others, all suffering, all desperate. She gathered them in a large room. They sat in various postures depending on their species' anatomy. Most would not look at each other. That was normal for advanced separation atrophy syndrome. Connection became painful. "I am going to show you something," said. "These are humans. They are not like us physiologically, but emotionally they face what you face. They separate from loved ones. They endure terrible distances. They wait for cycles with no guarantee of reunion, but they survive, more than survive. Watch." She played a compilation Praxis had prepared. Dozens of reunion videos in sequence. Soldiers returning from war. Parents reuniting with children. Friends embracing after years apart. Humans at transportation hubs holding signs that said "Welcome home." The raw emotion poured from the screen. The educator began to weep. The father's scales rippled in a pattern recognized as deep feeling. The young stood up and walked closer to the screen. "How long?" they asked. "How long were they apart?" Check the video data. This one is a soldier returning from a conflict deployment. He was gone for 2 cycles. Only 2 cycles and they react like this. This voice held wonder. "My family has been gone for 5 cycles. I thought the bond was dead." "Human bonds stretch," said. "They do not break easily. Some humans separate for 10 cycles or more and still reunite with this intensity." She played a video of an elderly human couple reuniting after 12 cycles apart. They held each other and cried. Their adult children surrounded them, also crying. 3 generations expressing joy and relief. "They maintain family bonds across generations," explained. "Human children who never met their grandparents still know their names and stories. They preserve connections through time." The sessions continued daily. Developed a protocol. She categorized videos by separation length, relationship type, and emotional intensity. She learned which videos worked best for which species. Responded strongly to parent-child reunions. Moth navigators preferred videos of humans returning to animal companions. Needed videos showing large family gatherings where separated members returned to the group. 3 weeks into the expanded program, human cultural liaisons arrived. 2 representatives from Earth's diplomatic corps came to Medical Station 7. One was named Sarah. The other was. Both were middle-aged humans with kind faces. "We heard you are using our reunion videos to treat patients," Sarah said. "We brought more." "More would be helpful," said, "but I am also interested in understanding the psychology better. How do humans maintain bonds across such distances?" Smiled, "We cheat." "Cheat?" "We use every trick we can think of," he explained. "We carry photographs. We sleep with our partner's clothing because it smells like them. We play voice recordings. We write letters even when we know they will take months to arrive. We count days on calendars. We create rituals. My grandfather served in a war on Earth. He carried a picture of my grandmother in his helmet. He looked at it every single day for 3 years. "But why?" asked. "The bond is stretched so far. Most species would accept the severing and move on. Why do humans fight so hard to maintain connection?" Sarah and looked at each other. Sarah spoke first. "Because we know we are coming home," she said simply. "It might take years, but we are coming home. And when we do, everyone we love will be waiting. That knowledge carries us through anything." "What if you cannot come home?" asked. "What if the separation is permanent?" His expression grew sad. "Then we grieve, but even in grief we maintain the connection. We tell stories about the person. We celebrate their memory. We teach our children about them. In human culture, love does not end with distance or even death. It just changes form." Felt something shift in her understanding. She had been thinking of the human ability as purely biological, a quirk of evolution. But it was more than that. It was cultural, practiced, intentional. Humans had built their entire society around the idea that bonds could stretch infinitely without breaking. Will you help me? Asked. Help me teach this to other species. That is why we came, Sarah said. Over the following weeks, Sarah and became integral to the program. They brought thousands more videos. They explained human customs around separation and reunion, the significance of yellow ribbons tied to trees, the tradition of homecoming signs, the military ritual of families waiting on docks or tarmacs for ships and planes to arrive, the simple human phrase, "I will wait for you," and how powerful it was. They also brought videos that showed the pain of separation, humans saying goodbye at transportation hubs, families watching ships leave for distant colonies, partners embracing one last time before deployments. Noticed that patients responded to these videos differently. Seeing humans acknowledge the pain of separation somehow validated their own suffering. "You do not pretend it is easy," the father said one day. "You show that separation hurts you too." "It hurts like hell," said, "but the hurt means the connection is real. We hold on to the hurt because it reminds us what we are coming home to." The Galactic Psychological Association sent inspectors. They interviewed patients. They reviewed treatment protocols. They watched the videos themselves, saw their expressions change as they watched. Even the skeptical ones softened. But not everyone approved. Doctor filed a formal complaint. He argued that the treatment created dependency on human emotional models, that it could cause psychological damage to force non-human species into human patterns of attachment. The committee called another meeting. This time brought her patients. Part 3. The conference room was larger this time. More committee members, more observers. The Galactic Psychological Association had invited representatives from 17 medical facilities across known space. Everyone wanted to see the controversial treatment that was generating both remarkable results and heated debate. Doctor stood first. This committee must consider the long-term implications of Doctor's methods. She is fundamentally altering how non-human species experience attachment. This is not medicine. This is cultural imperialism. Remained calm. She had prepared for this. "May I present my patients?" The committee agreed, gestured, and 5 beings entered the room. The merchant, the moth navigator, the young who had forgotten her name, the educator, the father. All had been near death when treatment started. Now they stood upright and alert. The merchant spoke first. His voice was clear and strong. "I was dying. For 47 days I could not speak or move. The pain of separation from my spawn clutch had shut down my neural pathways. Traditional treatment did nothing. Then Doctor showed me videos of humans reuniting with their young. I saw them cry with joy. I saw them embrace. And I understood something I had never considered. The bond was not broken. It was only stretched." "But you are not human," said. "Your neural structure is completely different." "My neural structure is different," the merchant agreed. "But pain is pain, joy is joy. When I saw those humans reunite after waiting, something woke up inside me. I realized I could wait too. I started counting days. I marked time. I practiced what Doctor called anticipation. 3 days ago I received a message from my spawn clutch. They are coming here. They will arrive in 18 days. I am counting." His scales rippled in a pattern of happiness. Several committee members shifted in their seats. The moth navigator spoke next. "I spent 37 years in deep space. When I returned home, I felt nothing. My family welcomed me, but I could not connect. Every therapy failed. Then I saw a video of a human reuniting with a creature that had waited years for him. The creature remembered. The love had not faded. I realized if a simple animal could maintain connection for years, perhaps I could too. I started practicing memory exercises Doctor taught me. Human techniques. I look at pictures of my family, I speak their names. Yesterday I felt something, a small spark. It was joy." Her voice trembled. "It was just a spark, but it was the first thing I have felt in 2 years." The young stepped forward. She was small even for her species. "I forgot my name. I forgot my family's faces. I forgot who I was, are not meant to be alone. Our identity comes from the collective. When doctors showed me humans maintaining individual identity across vast distances, I could not understand it. How could they know who they were without their people? Then I saw a video of a human talking to her mother across a transmission delay. They spoke and waited and spoke again. The human said, "I am still your daughter even though you cannot see me." That is when I understood, identity does not require proximity. I am still. Even alone, I am still. My family is still my family. The distance cannot erase that. Tears ran down her face. Had never seen a cry before. It was a human behavior had learned. The educator spoke about her family pod. The father talked about his spawn clutch. Each told the same story. Traditional treatment had failed. The human videos had given them tools, ways to think about separation that their own cultures had never developed, ways to maintain hope. Doctor listened. When they finished, he spoke more quietly. "Your improvements are remarkable. I do not dispute that. But what happens when you reunite with your families? You have been exposed to human emotional models. You have learned human behaviors. Will you still fit with your own kind?" "We do not know," the merchant said honestly. "But we will be alive to find out. Is that not better than the alternative?" The committee debated for hours. Finally, they voted. The treatment program would not only continue but expand. 17 medical facilities across the galaxy would implement the protocol. Sarah and would train other cultural liaisons. The Galactic Medical Database would include human reunion videos as a standard treatment resource. But there was more. The committee authorized something unprecedented. They wanted to organize a live reunion event. Families separated by the Great Expansion who thought they would never see each other again would be brought together on a neutral station. The event would be broadcast across galactic channels. Other species would watch humans reunite in real time. 3 months later, Reunion Station was completed. It was a simple structure, a large open space with comfortable environments for multiple species. Hundreds of families waited there, human families, but also clutches, pods, clusters, moth navigator crews, species that had learned human anticipation practices and marked their calendars and counted days. Stood in the observation area with Sarah and ships were arriving. Families who had been separated for years, some for decades, were about to reunite. The first ship docked, the airlock opened. A human soldier stepped through. He was old now, gray hair, lines on his face. He had left for a distant colony 20 years ago. His children had been young then, now they were adults. His daughter saw him first. She screamed, not in fear, in joy. She ran toward him and crashed into his arms exactly like the child in the first video had ever watched. The soldier held her and cried. His son reached them, his wife. They collapsed together in a pile of embracing bodies and tears. Other families followed, a spawn clutch reuniting with their father. They moved slowly at first, uncertain. Then they saw each other and their training activated. They had watched the videos. They knew what to do. They ran. They embraced. They did not hide their emotion. An educator saw her family pod. She made a sound had never heard from a pure joy. They rushed together and held each other in the pattern of their species. But the intensity was new. The open expression of feeling was new. They had learned from humans that showing emotion was not weakness. The young name stood at an airlock. Her family cluster emerged. They stopped when they saw her. For a moment no one moved, then ran forward. She did not walk with dignity as usually did. She ran like a human and threw herself at her family. They caught her. All of them touched her at once, reconnecting, reforming the cluster, cried. Her family cried with her. Watched it all. The observation area was full of doctors and researchers and cultural liaisons. Everyone was quiet. Many were crying, even the ones who had opposed the treatment. Even Doctor, standing in the corner with water running down his scales. Turn 2, you did this. You saw what we had and you shared it with everyone. I only showed them videos, said. No, Sarah said softly, you taught them hope. That is harder than it sounds. The reunions continued for hours. By the end of the day, 247 families had reunited. The broadcasts reached every major world in galactic space. Billions of beings watched strangers embrace. They watched joy that transcended species. They watched love survive impossible distances. The following week, requests for separation therapy increased by 8,000%. Medical facilities could not keep up. Sarah and organized training programs. Humans across the galaxy volunteered to teach other species about anticipation, about maintaining bonds, about counting days and coming home. Doctor published her final research paper 6 months later. It was titled On the Peculiar Elasticity of Human Affection. The paper analyzed everything she had learned. The psychological mechanisms that let humans maintain bonds across space and time. The cultural practices that supported those mechanisms. The evolutionary pressures that had created a species capable of loving across impossible distances. But the conclusion was what made the paper famous. Wrote that humanity's greatest gift to galactic society was not their technology or their diplomatic skills or their adaptability. It was their supernatural refusal to let distance sever love. Other species experienced separation as death. Humans experienced it as temporary inconvenience. They waited years for reunions that might never come. They maintained hope through evidence that should have destroyed it. They somehow convinced themselves that distance was meaningless when measured against connection. And now, other species were learning the same lesson. The moth navigators marked calendars on their long journeys. They sent messages across light years and waited months for responses. They created new rituals about maintaining identity during separation. They wrote letters to family pods they had not seen in cycles. Every species began to adapt. Received the Galactic Medical Association's highest honor. She accepted the award in a ceremony attended by representatives from 40 species. In her speech, she thanked her patients. She thanked Sarah and she thanked the humans who had unknowingly shared their deepest emotional experiences with the galaxy. But mostly she talked about hope, about how fragile it was, how easily it died, how humans had somehow evolved the ability to maintain it against all odds, and how that ability was now spreading. Species that had been breaking under the weight of separation were learning to stretch instead, to count days, to anticipate reunion, to believe that distance was temporary but love was permanent. After the ceremony returned to her office, Praxis was waiting with a message. The merchant's spawn clutch had arrived. The reunion was scheduled for the next day. He wanted to be there. She went. She watched the merchant and his spawn clutch see each other for the first time in 7 cycles. They did not cry like humans. Their physiology was different, but the joy was the same. The desperate embrace was the same. The sense of broken things being made whole was the same. As watched, she thought about the first video she had ever seen. The soldier surprising his children at school. Such a simple moment. Such an ordinary human experience, but it had changed everything. It had shown her that separation did not have to mean death, that bonds could stretch light years and still snap back, that love was not about proximity. It was about commitment, about choosing to wait, about refusing to let distance win. The humans had learned that lesson over millions of years of evolution. Now they were teaching it to the galaxy, one reunion at a time, one marked calendar at a time, one counted day at a time. Left the reunion room and walked through the medical facility. On every wall, screens showed human reunion videos. Patients watched them. Staff watched them. Visitors watched them. The videos had become part of galactic culture, a reminder that separation was survivable, that joy existed on the other side of waiting, that coming home was always possible if you refused to give up. She stopped at a window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, families were separated, beings were suffering, but now they had hope. They had proof that bonds could stretch without breaking. They had humans to show them the way. And that thought was worth everything. The controversy, the debate, the years of work, All of it was worth this moment. This knowledge that the galaxy had learned something precious from humanity, that love could be elastic, that distance was temporary, that home was not a place but a promise. A promise that said, I will wait for you, count the days, I am coming home. The stars shone cold and distant, but for the first time in her career, looked at them and did not see separation. She saw the space between connections, the temporary distance that would eventually close, the path that led home. She smiled. It was a human expression, but she had learned many human things over the past year, and this one felt right. Somewhere in the galaxy, someone was counting days. Someone was marking a calendar. Someone was looking at pictures and speaking names and refusing to let distance win. Someone was learning to stretch instead of break. That was humanity's gift. Not just to survive separation, but to thrive in spite of it. To turn waiting into anticipation. To transform distance into a challenge that only made the reunion. Pressed her hand against the cold window. Somewhere out there, her own family waited. She had not seen them in 3 cycles. Before learning about humans, she had accepted that pain. She had thought the bond was weakening, but now she knew better. She pulled out a calendar. She marked today's date. She counted the days until her scheduled visit home. 62 days. She would wait. She would anticipate. And when she finally saw her family again, she would embrace them like she had seen humans embrace, with every bit of joy that waiting had earned her. The stars shone on, cold and distant and uncaring, but between them, invisible and unbreakable, stretched the bonds of beings who had learned that love was stronger than distance. That hope was a practice, not a feeling. That home was always waiting if you were willing to count the days. Smiled again and turned away from the window. She had patience to see, families to reunite, days to count. The galaxy was learning to come home.